Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jai. Higher. Punjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Brajajanarandana Yasodanandana Brajajanarandana Jajananan Yamanatiravanachadi Yamanatiravanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Kunjabihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jasodanandana Vrajajanarandana Jasodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihari Madhava Kunya Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivijagacharya Astatara Satasi Srimadis Divine Grace Desi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Śrī Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Sri Radha Lila Madhava Ki Samhita Bhakta Vrinda Ki Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. I see some persons who are with us just now who haven't been with us earlier. And you're getting on a moving train. So I'll try to help by doing a little mini summary, as we did last night. We'll probably have to do it again tonight because, again, Saturday night, people that haven't been part of this. So, we've been discussing this weekend Śrī Brahma-Samhita and its commentary by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada's spiritual master. And his commentary is following his father's commentary in Bengali, which is following Jiva Goswami's commentary in Sanskrit, which is following the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, who found Śrī Brahma-Samhita in the course of his travels in South India at the Adi Keshava temple, and then began circulating handwritten copies, because there weren't printing presses at that time. And it became widely known amongst the associates of Lord Chaitanya, and since his time, as confirmation, essentially, of Lord Chaitanya's teachings, which are based upon Srimad Bhagavatam. So naturally, it's also a index. Brahma Samhita is a 62-verse index of the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's like capsule presentation of the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, starting with the invocation verse, or text 1, which is the essence of the entire book. There's a Sanskrit term called Paribhasha Sutra, which means the entire text, Śrī Brahma-Samhita, has as its key or its essence or its theme or a governing statement that all other statements are to be understood in reference to, is this first verse. Could you just do it quietly? And it's like distracting. That first verse is saying, Krishna, in his form within Vrindavan as Govinda, tending cows, playing upon his flute, enjoying pastimes with his associates in Vrindavan, is none other than that from which everything else in the spiritual and the material world comes. He's the absolute truth. That which is the original cause of everything else, spiritual and material, that itself may be a cause, he's the cause of that. He's the origin of everything. That's the introductory verse. And then verses 2 through 5 describe the abode of Krishna, his place of pastimes, and the residences of his associates, and the area surrounding Goloka, the realm of Krishna, a place called Swetadweep. Sweta means white and Dweepa means island. The transcendental place where Mathura and Dwarka are, and the expansions of Krishna as four-armed Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha reside. And so many other features are described in those verses. So we get a picture of Krishna's abode. And then there's a transition verse, number 6, which states, he, Krishna, this person that Śrī Brahma-Samhita is expounding about, he only engages in his internal all-spiritual potency with his all-spiritual eternal form, and he has no contact with the material energy. So now it's introducing material energy. So that's the transition. And then the next section is describing the material energy and the creation of the material realm through Mahavishnu, and details of how that creation unfolds as he, Mahavishnu, is lying in the causal ocean. Those of you that are with us for the first time, the causal ocean is in this picture on the left. The very top is Goloka, that blue surrounded by the white area in the middle, that's Vaikuntha. Just below that you see some clouds. That's the clouds of the material energy. And within that region there's the causal ocean, a kind of a lighter pale blue. And lying on that causal ocean, on his Ananta Shesha bed, or carrier, or resting place, is Mahavishnu. And Mahavishnu, during the time of cosmic annihilation, holds within his body all the living entities. And outside is the undifferentiated totality of matter, or material nature. And he glances over that totality of material nature in such a way that the living entities who are within him are carried by his internal potency, Rama, entrusted to the glance, or Shambhu, and the living entities are then carried over to the material nature along with time energy. That matter becomes agitated, literally, not figuratively, impregnated, and then the elements start to differentiate out, and then we have Mahatattva, which means the 24 elements, the building blocks. What Prabhupada in one purport called the unassembled motor parts. And then Mahavishnu, from his exhaling seeds, spiritual seeds of universes, go zooming from his body into that Mahatattva, and the elements, 5 gross material elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, start to congeal or cling to those seeds of universes, golden seeds. And those golden seeds then float on the causal ocean. Countless numbers of them, likened to footballs floating on top of water. Along with the elements, there's controlling deities or demigods. And that's as far as we got, basically. I'll make a comment for those that have been attending. There's a break, a continuity break from ending in text 14. It continues in what we're now going to speak about, text 19. So there's a series of verses in between where 2 things. There's a break in sequence. All of this has a set of events, like events that cause results, and those results then become causes of the next result. Cause and effect chain. That cause and effect chain is interrupted by these verses 15 through 18. We discussed 15 through 17, and 18 is even different altogether. It's in relation to Lord Brahma. So, 2 things, as I said. One is there's a break in sequence. So, don't be confused. There's lots of things that can be confusing, and that's one of them. There's a sequence break. And then there's another confusing element. I mean, I've listened to Tamal Krishna Maharaj's series. He presented Śrī Brahma-Samhita like I'm doing twice. And I have both recordings, 1990 and 1991. And I've listened to both of them at least 10 times. At least. And then Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj similarly made a presentation, and I've listened to that one probably 15 times. So, Tamal Krishna Maharaj repeatedly, and with Tamal Krishna Maharaj kind of emphasis, like strong emphasis, don't get confused by this break, by this, so because from 14 it goes, I'll read 14 and I'll read 19, you see, that's where the flow goes. But there's a series of verses in between that are not part of that flow. It's not part of the chronology, the cause and effect chain. But it's important because it's introducing personalities who later are going to participate in that flow of events. And the second is, we heard in text 14 very clearly about the entrance of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu within every universe. I'll say it twice. That happens later. Meaning, before Garbhodakshaya Vishnu enters into the universe, each universe, as an expansion of Mahavishnu, before that happens, so now I'm saying it the second time, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu enters within every atom of matter. And you're going to hear about that in text 19. That happens first. And then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu enters within the universe. I won't say it a third time. So the chronology can be confusing. Please get unconfused. And we'll now hear the chronology. I'll read text 14 and then text 19, and you'll see how the chronology flows. Text 14 translation reads, the same. Text 13. The spiritual seeds of Sankarshan, existing in the pores of skin of Mahavishnu, are born of so many golden sperms. These sperms are covered by the 5 great elements. So the 5 great elements are now covering those seeds of the universes. And now we're going to read text 19, hopefully. Before their conglomeration, the primary elements, that's the coverings around those seeds of the universes, remained separate entities. They didn't combine properly. And then something happens so that they can combine properly. That's what we're going to be discussing. So from 13, it transitions into 19. So 14 speaks of Mahavishnu entering. That happens after this happens. It's not a chronological sequence. 14 is out of sequence. It happens, but it doesn't happen in chronological sequence there. And then some other things are discussed. So that's just perhaps helping to preempt some of the questions that are going to be asked when you hear the sequence is different than we just heard. Okay, so we're ready to begin with text 19. What happened? What's going on? We're at the wrong set of slides. Can we do something about that? I want to go to text 19. Okay, good. Okay. Let us chant together. Tatvani purva rudrani karanarnani parashparam samaparavagargachcha Vibhanani pratak pratak chichchaktya samamanota Bhagavan adi purushaha yojayan mayaya devo yoga nidram akalpayat. Translation. Before their conglomeration, so we're at the stage where the seeds of the universes have come from the body of Mahavishnu. They've entered into the Mahatattva. Elements have formed around them, clung to those seeds, but they're not in a cooperative state yet. It's not universe ready. So his language, he calls this the non-conglomerate state because of non-application of the conglomerating principle. We'll hear about what that conglomerating principle is. Well, I'll tell you. It's the entrance of Kshirodakshai Vishnu and his time energy, or Kali. We'll hear about it, but that's what it is. That's the combining potency. So they're just there kind of clinging, but not functioning as they should function. It's in disorder. You know, it's something like a group of people, let's say, a temple. Somebody has this service, somebody has that service, somebody has another service, and they're really absorbed in their service, and they're not so much like aware of what the other person's service is, they're just doing their service. So you need an organizer, someone that has the understanding of the big picture, and okay, while you're doing this, please respect another person who's doing that, and together we're doing all this wonderful thing. Oh, well, that's nice. So the elements are in that condition. There's elements, and there's deities presiding over those elements, but they're not in a state of cooperation. They need intelligence. They need a coordinating factor. So, Jiva Goswami, you'll hear, says this term, Kali, which can mean both the internal potency, because everything has its internal potency position, or that he calls it the dark goddess, Kali, in the material world. The potency for combining enters. Okay, so that's the conglomerating principle. So when you hear that, that's what it means. Now I'll read the translation. Before their conglomeration, the primary elements, these five that are clinging to the seeds of the universes, in their nascent state, what does nascent state means? Like a child, like, their infancy. In their nascent state remained originally separate entities. Non-application of the conglomerating process is the cause of their separate existence. Divine Mahavishnu, primal Godhead, through association with his own spiritual or chit potency, moved Maya, and by the application of the conglomerating principle created those different entities in their state of cooperation. And after that, he himself consorted with Yoga Nidra. That's Brahma, that's his internal potency, by way of his eternal dalliance with his spiritual chit potency. So a few things. This is review, at least for those who have been attending the seminar. Two things. One is, please remember our discussion about Krishna's instructions to Yogamaya at the time of, or just prior to his appearance. Balaram was the seventh child within the womb of Devaki. Krishna called his internal potency Yogamaya and instructed her. I have some service for you. Yes, yes. What service? Three things. Transfer Balaram to the womb, from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. That's one. Two, appear within the womb of Yashoda and take your birth as the daughter of Yashoda. That's two. And three, I'm going to then appear as the eighth child of Devaki, and I'll take my birth. My father, Vasudeva, is going to carry me on the other side of the river Jamuna, place me by the side of Yashoda, and bring you, Yogamaya, back to the prison house of Kamsa, and Kamsa is going to try to kill you. But don't worry, you're my potency, he can't kill you. And after he fails, you'll go throughout the land and be known by various names like Durga and Parvati and things like that. So, Yogamaya is going to be known in a different way based upon how people regard Krishna and Krishna's potencies. But one energy. Remember that one? So, same is happening here. Mahavishnu has his spiritual potency, Rama Devi, also known as Yogamaya, also known as Yoga Nidra, different names for the same chit or spiritual potency. He is going to receive some prayers by the presiding deities of those elements that are in an uncooperative state, and they're going to pray to Mahavishnu, help! Please give us both the knowledge, Gyan, and also the capacity to work together and do what we're supposed to do to serve your purpose of creating the universe. He hears their prayer. I'm going to read what their prayers, and I'm going to read what he does. The verses, but I'm summarizing now. He then, by his Shirodakshayi Vishnu, You remember from text 15, from the left limb, Kshirodakshayi Vishnu was created. So that Kshirodakshayi Vishnu enters into the elements, every atom of creation, along with his energy. And we're going to hear the statement that the energy is Kali. And in the purport, Prabhupada explains it's same as Kala, his time energy. Because this happened already, didn't it? When Mahavishnu's glance, there was the time energy and the living entities. Now this is Kshirodakshayi Vishnu entering within every atom, and the time energy is also coming. But now she's being called by a particular name, Kali, for the reason that Kali means the ability to combine. So she, to assist Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, gives the ability to combine to the elements which they were praying for, along with the knowledge of how to do it. Supposing you're given some service. Supposing somebody tells you, Prabhuji, can you cook the Sunday feast? I've never cooked before. And I don't know how to even turn on the stove, what to speak of everything else. No problem. I'll give you the knowledge and the ability. Well, I have a desire to serve, so with the knowledge and the ability, then I'll cook the Sunday feast. It may take a little bit of training, but I can learn how to cook the Sunday feast and cook the Sunday feast. So these demigods who are in charge of the elements have a service. They're supposed to form a universe, but they don't know how, and they're not in the spirit of cooperation either. So Kshirodakshayi Vishnu enters, gives them the knowledge and the ability to cooperate and work together. That's this conglomerating principle that's being spoken about. So they can then make their product. They can start forming the universe. That's what this verse is saying. So, yeah. So another point. This is a review point. I'm going to read the first 6-7 lines in the purport. Bhaktisiddhanta's rigorous language. Prepare yourselves. I'll, break it apart to make it easier to understand. I'll tell you in advance what he's going to say. You remember when the glance, Shambhu, contacted Maya, there were two parts. Like the womb of the mother provides the ingredients and provides the chamber for the living entity to grow. He says the same thing here. It was in text 10, now here it is in text 19. Purport. Maya jakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. Bhagavad Gita. The mundane energy Prakriti gives birth to this universe of animate and inanimate beings by my direction, unquote. And he says it twice, so listen carefully. The purport of this sloka of the Gita is that Maya, the perverted reflection of spiritual chit potency, was at first inactive. That's one of the two aspects, Maya aspect. And there's also, and her extension of matter, constituting the material cause, was also in the separately dislocated state. So neither the supplying of the ingredients nor the chamber were doing their thing properly. Next sentence. In accordance with the will of Krishna, this world is manifested as the resultant of the union of the efficient and the material causal principles of Maya. So we discussed this. So now this is, for those of you that have been attending, this is review. Material energy, material nature has two aspects. One is there's ingredients there, and there's also space or accommodating chamber for things to happen. And one is called the efficient cause, and the other is called the material cause, or nimitta maya and upadan maya, or pradhan maya and prakriti. So these two features were not in a state of cooperation. They're there. They were activated by the glance of Mahavishnu, and there's elements and they're clinging to these seeds of the universes, but they're not yet in a cooperative state. He calls it the non-application of the conglomerating principle. So, the demigods who are having this service to do and they don't know quite how to do it, they offer some prayers. These prayers are found towards the end of the 5th chapter of 3rd canto. And it starts with text 38. Translation. Maitreya is explaining to Vidura. The controlling deities of the above-mentioned physical elements are empowered expansions of Vishnu. They are embodied by eternal time under the external energy, and they are his parts and parcels, means they're jivas. Because they were entrusted with different functions of universal duties and were unable to perform them, they offered fascinating prayers to the Lord as follows. And then there's a whole list of prayers, and the last one is text 51. O Supreme Self, they're praying to Mahavishnu, please give us, who are created in the beginning from the Mahatattva, the total cosmic energy, your kind directions and how we shall act. Kindly award us two things: your perfect knowledge, Jnana Shakti, and potency, Kali, or time, the combining, so how to do it and the ability to do it, like cooking the Sunday feast. So that we can render you service in the different departments of subsequent creation. That ends chapter 5, and chapter 6, canto 3, begins the following, verse 1. Maitreya Rishi said, the Lord thus heard about the suspension of the progressive creative functions of the universe due to the non-combination of his potencies, such as the Mahatattva. So what did he do? Text number 2. The Supreme Powerful Lord then simultaneously entered the 23 elements, that's Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, entered within every atom, with the goddess Kali, his external energy. We'll hear about internal, external. We already talked about it. Functions this way or that way depending upon the circumstance. One energy depending upon the circumstance. Differently functioning. Prabhupada gives the example of electricity. It's one energy. But an electrician can take that one energy and make something hot, same energy, make something cold. One energy. Similarly, the Lord's energy can act in one way as Yogamaya, or his spiritual chit potency, always engaging in relationship of loving exchange with the Supreme Lord, free from any taint of mundane inebriety. Same energy, depending upon function, can act in a different way. So that's what we're hearing. The Supreme Powerful Lord then simultaneously entered into the 23 elements with the goddess Kali, his external energy, who alone amalgamates all the different elements. So they came to a state of cooperation. They could perform their function. Prabhupada's purport. The ingredients of matter are counted as 23, and he lists them. All are combined together by the influence of time, and again are dissolved in the course of time. Time, therefore, is the energy of the Lord, and acts in her own way by the direction of the Lord. This energy, time, is called Kali, at least in this case. There's other ways of addressing, using that name Kali. The destructive, punishing force of material nature. But time destroys all things. This is the combining feature. And is represented by the dark, destructive goddess, generally worshipped by persons influenced by the mode of darkness or ignorance in the material existence. In the Vedic hymn, this process, that's the Purusha Sukta, is described as, and it gives the Sanskrit translation, the energy which acts as material nature in combination of the 23 ingredients is not the final source of creation. The Lord enters into the elements and applies his energy, called Kali. So, Jiva Goswami comments on this verse in his commentary on Śrī Brahma-sam. Kali is called such because she combines. So the energy of combining, or the conglomerating principle. Kshirodakshayi Vishnu enters with his energy of combining, time, or Kali. Vijayadvaj Tirtha comments on this verse, saying that the controlling deities of the elements, they're the ones that offered the prayers, are not counted separately from the elements themselves because they're none different than the elements. With the elements come the deities of the elements. And he also explains that Kali is none other than Rama, the Lord's internal potency. But when she has a service to do in relation to matter, her shadow energy or her reflected energy or her transformed counterpart energy, Maya or Kali, acts. So there's the spiritual counterpart and the material counterpart. And there, so here's what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says. When it is thus stated that the Lord entered into the 23 elements with the goddess Kali, it should be understood the Lord entered with his own potency who, as Yoganidra, consorted with him for spiritual pastime, while her partial expansion, Mahamaya, took charge of bringing the material elements into a state of cooperation. We're okay? We like, our Western tainted brains like everything compartmental. If it's either this or that, it can't be this and that. So we struggle. Many of us struggle with that. But according to the Lord's will and the service to be done, this one energy can act this way, And the same energy can act that way, and it's perfectly okay. That's what's going on here. So now we have the elements combining, or